Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Know Thy Enemy, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan McPhillips. And as always, we will be looking ahead to the Bengals' upcoming opponent, checking them out, talking about some of their star players, some of their weaker players, and where the Bengals can try and attack, as well as the Bengals' keys to victory. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started looking ahead at the New York Giants, as the Bengals will be traveling to New York to go and play the Giants on the road. Obviously, coming to a 1-4 start, the Bengals absolutely cannot drop this game. They will be looking to make a statement, as a point of pride is now on the line. So, looking at this Giants offense, obviously looking across the conference at the NFC and not the AFC, sometimes our Bengals fans are not quite as in tune with the conferences as other AFC teams, and completely understandably so. So, just kind of refresh you a little bit about where the team sits right now after 5 weeks of the season. The Giants offense currently ranks 22nd in EPA per play. They are 30th in EPA per rush. So not a very successful rushing offense, but they are 12th in dropback EPA. And that is largely because Daniel Jones has been having one of his better years of his career, improving on multiple numbers. Finding his way toward the middle of the pack of quarterbacks this year in a lot of statistics, as opposed to the bottom 10 or so, where he's found himself quite a few seasons in his career so far. Now, looking at the Giants defense, they are 18th in EPA per play on the whole, 24th in success rate allowed, 18th in drop back EPA, and 18th in EPA allowed per rush. They are uniquely suited in the sense that they have been a heavy turnover offense, lots of kind of ball production in the sense of pass deflections, fumbles, especially sacks. They lead the NFL in sacks with 22, I believe, is the total last I checked. They are also 8th in team pass rush grade per PFF. So a large majority of their pressures turning into sacks. You expect that to swing back toward even a little bit, but they are obviously a very, very talented defensive line team, finding unique ways to use guys like their linebackers, like their safeties to generate pressure as well. So that's definitely something that the Bengals will need to watch out for. So starting with the offense, we talked about Daniel Jones. You know him, you love to hate him, right? He's got the goofy look on his face. I think he kind of looks like the captain from How I Met Your Mother. If anybody knows that reference, please let me know if you agree in the comments. I think he does. He's got the crazy eyes and the smile. Talking about Daniel Jones on the field, though, this year, not really hunting for the big play. He's tied for 24th in big time throw percentage, but he is being a lot more careful with the ball. He's 9th in turnover worthy play percentage. I know he's had 0 interceptions the last 3 weeks, but he has had 4 turnover worthy plays in that span. So even though they didn't get intercepted or the fumbles didn't get recovered, the ball was still put in harm's way as a result of his choice or his performance. So that is something worth noting, that the Bengals may end up having 1 or 2 chances to end up with a takeaway, which the Bengals defense could sorely use. Any type of gift, any type of help, any type of stop. That would be so great. So great. God bless. Anyways, Daniel Jones, 19th in passer rating this year, 11th in EPA and CPOE combined, which is 2 of the most stable metrics that you can use when predicting quarterback play year to year, EPA and CPOE. When you put them together, they work really well. He's also 13th in adjusted EPA per play. So he's been performing really, really well as a drop back passer, making good decisions, not putting the ball in harm's way as often as he used to. So credit to him for that. One red flag of his game, especially this season, is he's 5th in terms of the pressures, percentage of pressures attributed to the quarterback. So of all the pressures that they have, he is 5th in terms of the team pressures that go as faulted towards him for holding the ball too long, drifting into pressure. So there will be opportunities, hopefully, for a Bengals D-line that has struggled to get pressure, where Daniel Jones may end up inviting some of that and helping them out in that regard. Though on the flip side, he is the 9th best quarterback in avoiding those sacks based on his pressure to sack percentage. We know he's mobile. My co-host for State of the Jungle, Malik, has called him poor man's Josh Allen. You do see a little bit of that in his escapability, his pocket mobility, and sometimes when he ends up being a running quarterback. Looking at running back, veteran Devin Singletary, we know what Bengals fans remember what the Texans did when they played Cincinnati last year. Some bad memories of guys like Devin Singletary, but He's been a quality pass blocker, a good stabilizing veteran as they move on from Saquon Barkley. But he has had his blemishes. He does have 2 touchdowns, but he also has 2 fumbles to go along with that, and has just not quite found the every down efficiency, averaging just around 3 yards a carry. However, he was injured this last week. Tyrone Tracy, the rookie out of Purdue, who myself and a couple of my co-hosts were big fans of coming out of the draft, and man, he looked really explosive. 158 rushing yards at 5.3 yards per carry on the season. I think you could see him take over a little bit more of that, the rushing role. Not so much the pass blocking. I think he still has a ways to go in there as well, but can definitely kind of do the Chase Brown, Zach Moss thing a little bit, and I think it would probably behoove the Giants offense a little bit. Speaking of rookies, rookie tight end out of Penn State, Theo Johnson, big, crazy athlete, pretty good blocker for his size. Took on a larger role in the passing game and responded well last week with his biggest game of the season. He caught all 5 of his targets for 48 yards and seems to have kind of assumed that tight end 1 position. I would assume that he will probably be pretty heavily involved in the game plan, especially if Malik Neighbors ends up missing the week. Speaking of Malik Neighbors, we'll just go ahead and touch on that in case he plays. You already know he's great. You've seen all his crazy highlight reel catches. The guy is crazy talented. Just to give him his flowers, he's 7th in receiving yards, 6th in PFF receiving grade, and 12th in yards per route run. Filling in for him a little bit has been Wandell Robinson, who has a good raw totals, but when you look at him with how many targets he's getting on an efficiency standpoint, he's about middle of the pack out of about 75 wide receivers. However, he does have 10 missed tackles forced, which leads all wide receivers. So I would definitely advise that the Bengals need to be wary of that. Try and make sure that they're being very sound in their tackling as well as their fundamentals when trying to tackle him, because he can punish you for missing on those tackles. He also has a 4.7 average depth of target, which ranks 95th out of 97 wide receivers. So everything for him is a lot closer to the line of scrimmage than almost every wide receiver in the NFL who qualified with a handful of targets. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Darius Slayton, we know he's been that kind of possession slant and deep threat combo for them recently. He's gotten back into the lineup. He's been playing well again. That Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton connection has been alive for a couple years now, and it's looked pretty good in spurts for sure. So they'll definitely, the secondary, especially if Malik Neighbors is healthy, is going to have their hands full in that regard. In the offensive line, Andrew Thomas, 18th in PFF grade among tackles this season, seems to be starting to finally put it together and becoming a plus in quality tackle, and it was a little touch and go there for a while early in his career. However, as a pass blocker, he still has some work to do. He's 31st in pass blocking grade and 35th in pass block efficiency, and he's 20th in run blocking grade. Now looking at the rest of the line, one of the tackle spots and one of the guard spots manned by Jermaine Illuminor, who many Bengals fans are very familiar with from free agency, and John Runyon. They've both been very solid, and they've got pass blocking grades of over 65. However, their center, John Michael Schmidt, and their guard, Greg Van Rutten, have struggled in pass pro, and they both have pass blocking grades under 50 this season. So guys like Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill, Chris Jenkins, I'm going to be looking at them as saying, hey, you have the best matchups here. It's time for you guys to produce. This is what you were signed for. That's what you have to do. Take advantage of the players who are not playing well, who are younger, who may not be prepared for you, especially after you haven't been on tape the last couple of weeks. There hasn't been that pass rush. Take advantage of that inexperience, of that inability, of that lack of productivity, and try and make them pay and flush Daniel Jones out of the pocket and make him uncomfortable. So flipping over to the defense, this is where the strength of the Giants absolutely is, in my opinion, starting with none other than Dexter Lawrence, the beast on the interior. He is 3rd in PFF run defense grade and one of those crazy nose tackle hybrids who can also pass rush that I would love so much. If the Giants are willing to part with him in any such way, I will give literally everything I have in my bank account. Don't ask how much that is. It's irrelevant to you. Anyways, 7 sacks this season for this nose tackle, right? And he's 4th in pass rush grade on true pass sets, which I like using true pass sets because that takes away play action, quick game, screens. That way you get a true sense of how good a pass rusher is on just drop backs, real true drop backs. He's also 1st in pass rush productivity and 2nd in pass rush win rate on those true pass sets. So really just a devastating pass rusher. I would expecting a lot of outside runs, outside action, not trying to really go at him. I'm trying to avoid him like you would Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, TJ Watt, Chris Jones, et cetera, et cetera. I know Brian Burns is the new acquisition, right? They traded for him from the Panthers, gave him the big new contract, and he absolutely has the talent to be a top 5, top 10 edge, but he hasn't quite made it there yet. He's 16th out of 53 edge defenders in pass rush grade this season, 35th in terms of pass rushing productivity, which is just pressures per snap, which weights more towards sacks because obviously sacks are more important than pressures and more valuable. So this is a good way to just say, hey, on a per snap basis, take the PFF grades out of if you don't like it, just what is your efficiency? And let's add a little bit extra weight for the sacks, which really matter. And he still has been 35 out of 53. So not as productive on a pure down to down basis, but still can be that very, very disruptive pass rusher. And also has been very good against the run, 19th in run stop percentage this season, 27th overall in pass rush win rate. So he is still a threat. I just wanted to highlight that he has not quite been the dominant edge defender that he was some years in Carolina. Unfortunately, Kayvon Thibodeau out week to week with after having wrist surgery. Hopefully, he has a speedy recovery. Hoping for the best for him. Bobby Okereke, had to make sure I nailed the pronunciation on that one. The former Indianapolis Colt has been kind of manning the middle for the Giants there at linebacker. No more Alec Ogletree nightmares for you guys. Bobby's here to help you out. He is 32nd out of 54 linebackers in PFF grade, but a lot of that comes from the run defense grade, where he's 49th out of 54. And that is mainly due to his high missed tackle rate of 17.6%, which ranks 47th out of 54 linebackers. However, to his credit, he's made up for it in coverage, where he ranks 12th out of those 54 linebackers in PFF coverage grade. And he's also been a little bit of a threat as a pass rusher, too, where he's got 2 sacks on just 22 pass rush attempts this season. You will have the opportunity, I think, to try and make him miss, get those guys like Chase Brown out on the edge, try and put him in weird pursuit angles, and then let the explosiveness and the shiftiness of those guys take advantage of his missed tackle rate or his missed tackle tendency. I think that will be an option for the Bengals. Looking more at the secondary, Deontay Banks, Cordell Flott, they're going to be your primary guys in coverage, trying to lock down T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on the perimeter. Deontay Banks is 47 out of 79 corners in PFF coverage grade. To his credit, he does have 5 pass breakups, which is 5th most among cornerbacks. However, he is allowing a passer rating when targeted that ranks 70th out of 79 corners, and he's 73rd in run defense grade, despite having 0 missed tackles on 18 tackle attempts. So getting out of position, getting lost in the shuffle a lot. I think attacking the perimeter between Bobby Okereke's, got it at the time, between his struggles with missed tackles, between Deontay Banks finding himself out of position consistently, struggling a little bit to maintain consistency in coverage, I think there's going to be some opportunities to really attack the perimeter, both in the passing and the run game. Looking at Cordell Flott, he's been okay in coverage, but he has really struggled in the run game. Out of those 79 corners that we talked about, he ranked 35th in coverage grade, so about middle of the pack. Not bad, right? 62nd in run defense grade, though, and he is 73rd out of those 79 corners in missed tackle rate. So really just big flashing lights that are saying, hey, Bengals, attack the outsides, attack the perimeters, attack the edges, and make these guys try and be the ones to beat you and not let it be Dexter Lawrence, who I have nightmares about, even when I'm not playing him sometimes. Rookie Andrew Phillips is filling in for them in the slot, and he's been actually really impressive in his limited action. He's got just over 100 snaps, but yet he's 3rd on the team in defensive stops. So you might be able to see a little bit more of him kind of working his way into the defense if he continues to excel in that regard, especially if he's being one of the better run defenders. And they have gotten solid safety play from a tandem of rookie Tyler Nubin and veteran Jason Pinnock, the latter of whom has tallied 3 sacks on the season. So you see a lot of sacks coming from guys other than their D-line. You see 7 already from Dexter Lawrence. You can see, 1, why they're so threatening, but 2, why that might not be sustainable. That's just, I don't imagine they're going to end up with 90 or 100 sacks, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be. So all of that being said, exhaustive look a little bit at some of the Giants players and understanding who they are, where they're at right now. What are the Bengals' keys to victory? First and foremost, make Daniel Jones uncomfortable. changed the picture on him pre-snap, post-snap. He's gotten much better about discerning where blitzes are coming from and taking the right option, but he still does have those just inaccurate throws. He still does have those kind of brain fart moments. I'm thinking if you can try and get in the pocket, even if you make him step up, even if you make him just adjust and shift, I think that's enough to throw him off rhythm and throw off the timing of the plays a little bit to where he's going to be forced to create. And I think that's when you can get those turnover worthy plays and opportunities to really capitalize on him and maybe on the mistakes that he has a propensity to make sometimes. I think that's going to be key on defense for sure. You got to find a way to get pressure, especially on the interior. You have to move him off his spot, take advantage of the offensive line, who's one of the weaker offensive lines you're probably going to play, and really take advantage of putting that pressure on Daniel Jones. Try and keep everything in front of you. Don't miss tackles. We keep saying it every week. Just don't miss tackles. Don't miss tackles. Keep it all in front of you. Let them make the mistakes. Your offense will carry you. And that takes us to the other side of the ball. Offense, you're going to have to get your extra big backpack and put all the defense in it. You're going to have to carry it. All right. So go ahead, bring your A game, bring T. Higgins, bring Mike Gesicki, bring Eric All, bring Jamar Chase, bring out your couple plays for Jermaine Burton, for Andre Yoshivas, who's had a couple explosive plays. I think he's had one play each week for the last 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to need every bit of that. And we talked about the Giants secondary is definitely one that can be taken advantage of. The run defense on the interior is what's really going to get you. So if you can avoid that, if you can play like you did against Washington, if you can play like you did against Baltimore, this offense will be able to carry you. Just don't be afraid to lean on that passing game, attack the perimeter, attack the weak points of this defense. Don't run yourself into a wall over and over again in the middle of that defense. Make the Giants get outside, make them move, make them take bad angles at you, and make them tackle. And I think that's going to be the way you can find consistent offense throughout this game. And eventually, I think this offense can outpace the Giants' offense as much as Daniel Jones has improved on his numbers a little bit. I think they're a far cry away from putting up 30 plus points very reliably, very comfortably without the Bengals defense just having absolute meltdowns again. But if they can manage to get 28 pressures and 1 sack again this week, then I will eat the socks I'm wearing now on this episode. So there you go. You can have that fun bet to look forward to for this weekend if anything starts to look terribly dire for either team. So thank you all for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you joining us. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you a bunch of awesome content like this. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Houday.